Bavaria, April 1945. Your wrists are bound with the same gauge of wire you once used to fix your father's garden fence. An American guard stops your column of prisoners in front of a gate and orders you, in broken German, to look through it. You do not want to look. Your legs move anyway. Somewhere behind you, a boy no older than your little sister is crying without making a sound. The wind carries a smell that will outlast your uniform, your name, maybe your sleep. In your breast pocket, gone soft from 3 years of folding, is a photograph of a town that no longer resembles this photograph. You do not know yet whether that town survived the war. You do not know yet whether you survived the person who left it. 3 years earlier, none of this exists. Not the wire, not the gate, not the smell. There is only a locksmith shop, a best friend across the street, and a letter that hasn't arrived yet. Level 1. The Summons. You are 18, apprenticed to your father's locksmith trade in a market town in Hesse, and mostly what you feel is overlooked. The newsreels show tanks rolling through cities with names you can't pronounce. Posters in the town square show soldiers with clean jaws and clear eyes, looking at something glorious just past the frame. Your best friend, Anton, who fixes radios 2 doors down, jokes that the two of you are the only young men left who haven't been given a uniform to be proud of. Then, the letter arrives. Gray paper, an eagle stamped at the top, a date and a place you're ordered to report to. Your father, who spent 1917 in a trench outside Verdun and never talks about it, reads the letter over your shoulder and says nothing for a long moment. Then he says only, "Come home."
Not be brave, not make us proud, just that. You report anyway. Refusing isn't a decision available to you, not without consequences that reach your whole family. At the station, your mother holds your sleeve until the whistle blows. Anton isn't there. His trade has earned him a few more months. You board the train alone, and it pulls east, toward a training depot. And the town gets smaller in the window until it isn't there at all.
Level 2. The First Reward. Training camp strips away who you were and issues you something new. A rifle, a number, a rank, a reason to stand up straighter than you ever have. You are good at this. Steady hands from years of cutting keys translate into steady aim, and an instructor singles you out in front of the others. It is the first time in your life a man in real authority has said your name and meant it as praise. The reward is real. Belonging is real. For the first time, you feel useful in a way the locksmith shop never made you feel. The cost arrives quietly, in the same breath. Every evening there are lectures about the enemies of the Reich, about weakness, about what happens to men who speak against the war. One recruit asks a question during a lecture, a small, ordinary question about how long the war might last.
He is pulled aside afterward. He does not eat with the unit again. Nobody asks what happened to him. You notice that nobody asks. You finish training near the top of your company. The orders come through. You're being sent west to the coast of occupied France to help hold what the officers call the Atlantic Wall. Level 3. The Atlantic Wall. France in 1943 is not what the posters promised. You spend your days inside a concrete bunker overlooking a gray beach, waiting for an invasion everyone insists is coming, and no one can say when. Your platoon leader, Feldwebel Bauer, has been a soldier since Poland and treats waiting like a skill to be mastered. You learn it from him. You learn the names of the men beside you, learn which ones snore, which ones pray, which one keeps a photograph of a girl he swears will still be waiting. You write letters home that say it's quiet here. The food is decent. Don't worry about me. None of it is entirely true. It's the first lie you've told your mother in your life, and it slides out of you easier than you expected. Then a soldier in the next platoon tries to walk away. Not toward the enemy, just away, toward anywhere that isn't here. He's caught within a day. There's a word for what he's charged with. Wehrkraftsversetzung, undermining the war effort.
There's a court, though it takes less than an hour. There's a firing squad, and your company is made to watch. You understand, standing in that formation, that the enemy across the water is not the only thing that can kill you now. A week later, a transferred soldier arrives from a unit in the east, thin and jumpy in a way training camp doesn't explain. He drinks with your squad and says things he probably shouldn't, things about villages, things about who gives the orders when the army isn't the only uniform present. You go to sleep that night with a question in your chest that you don't have the courage to finish asking, even to yourself.
Level 4. Choosing not to know.
The rumor doesn't go away. It sits in the bunker with you, unspoken, every time a new transfer mentions the East in a tone that doesn't match his words. An officer from the National Socialist leadership staff starts visiting your company more often, taking soldiers aside individually, asking about morale, about loyalty, about who says what when the officers aren't listening.
You learn to say nothing interesting when he's near you. Everyone does. It becomes a kind of second training, invisible, more important than marksmanship. Then a letter comes from home, and it isn't from your mother. It's from Anton's mother. Anton was drafted after all, sent to a unit further south, and made the mistake of saying to the wrong person in the wrong room that the war didn't sound like it was going the way the radio claimed. He has been reassigned to a penal battalion, the kind of unit sent first into minefields, first into the worst ground, so that ordinary units don't have to be. You read the letter twice. You do not write back anything true. You fold it into the same pocket as your mother's letters.
And you go back to your post, and you do your duty, because that is the only shape your life has left to take. The door on the boy who left the locksmith shop closes a little further, and you are the one closing it.
Level 5. The promise breaks.
By early 1944, you've been promoted. Unteroffizier now. Your own squad, new men who look at you the way you once looked at Bauer. It feels for a moment like proof that keeping quiet and doing your duty is working. You have rank. You have men who trust you to bring them through this. Then, the orders change everything. The Eastern Front is collapsing faster than the papers admit, and experienced units are being stripped from the coast to hold a line that keeps moving backward. Your company boards a train heading the wrong direction, away from home, not toward it. And somewhere in that long, freezing journey, the last piece of the promise you were given as a recruit finally breaks apart in your hands. There was never going to be a short war. There was never a guaranteed way home. There was only whatever happens next, and you no longer have any say in when next will end.
Level 6. The system closes in.
The East does not resemble the coast. There is no waiting here, only retreating, digging in, retreating again, watching the men beside you disappear one at a time into weather and artillery and silence. Discipline tightens as the front worsens. Officers now shoot men for falling back without orders. The same fear that killed the soldier on the beach 2 years ago scaled up until it's simply how the army holds itself together. You stop asking questions entirely. You stop imagining the town in Hesse in any detail, because detail is what breaks a man out here. You become someone your mother wouldn't fully recognize. Competent, obedient, hollowed out in the places where a person used to keep hope. Once, in the dark, you let yourself think about walking toward the Soviet lines with your hands raised instead of your rifle. You've heard both sides shoot men who try it, depending on the day, the sector, the mood of whoever's watching. You put the thought away. There is no direction in this war that isn't guarded. Your company is ordered to hold a crossroads that 3 larger units have already failed to hold. You are told this as though it is an honor. Level 7. The crossroads. You hold it. For 4 days you hold it. And the men who look to you now are boys of 17 who were still in school when you boarded your first train. You are, by any measure the Army recognizes, exactly what it built you to be. Reliable, respected,
in command. This is the trade nobody explained to you at the recruiting hall. You can command discipline, but you cannot write your mother a true sentence. You can hold a crossroads, but you cannot picture a future on the other side of it without flinching. You are responsible for every boy under you, and you cannot save all of them. And you already know which ones you'll remember for the rest of your life and which ones you'll spend the rest of your life trying not to. You have more authority than you have ever had. You have less freedom than you have ever had.
Both of those things are true on the same afternoon. The crossroads finally falls, and the order comes down the line. Fall back, save what you can.
Level 8. The Gate. The retreat west in the spring of 1945 is not a retreat so much as a dissolving. Command structures evaporate. Roads fill with columns going in every direction at once. Somewhere in the chaos, your unit meets American forces instead of Soviet ones, and for the first time in years, surrendering your rifle feels less like defeat than like setting down something that was never going to fit in your hands again. The march into captivity brings you, eventually, to a gate. An American officer with tired eyes and no patience left orders your column to stop and to look at what is on the other side of the fence. This is where the story began. Now you understand what the transferred soldier was trying not to say 2 years ago. You understand what happened to men who tried to walk away and what special assignment meant for units that weren't yours. And you understand, standing there, that not knowing was a choice you made every single day you didn't ask.
Nobody forced your silence at the bunker on the coast. You gave it freely because it was easier and because the war never stopped needing men who wouldn't ask questions. You do not have words for what you feel. Grief is too small a word, and shame doesn't cover it either. You only know that the boy who boarded a train 3 years ago, proud of a rank an instructor gave him, is not the man standing at this fence, and there is no train that goes back to him.
The town in Hesse is standing when you finally reach it, though a shell took the roof off the bakery, and half the young men who left with you never came back at all. Your mother doesn't recognize you for a full second. Before she does, your father says nothing again. The same nothing he said the day the letter arrived. Except now, you understand exactly what was in it. Anton's mother tells you what happened to her son in a voice that has already run out of tears. The penal battalion did what penal battalions are built to do. He never came home either. The friend who said one true sentence in the wrong room, while you said nothing true for 3 years and lived. You take over your father's shop. You cut keys for doors in a town still deciding what to rebuild and what to leave in ruins. Some nights, you still see the gate and the boy behind you crying without sound.
And you understand at last the only honest thing the war ever taught you. You survived Hitler's war. What you did not survive is the belief that you could serve it and still stay innocent.